Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Reardon.
Just the other day, I was listening to a book or multiple books about this topic that we're going to be talking about today. It is about the idea that we can be our biggest supporters or we can be people who self-sabotage ourselves. For example, let's say you are supposed to be doing something in your life. Maybe you have a business. You have to do marketing. You don't want to do marketing, right? You want to be on your phone, watch TikToks, YouTube, whatever, right? There are going to be distractions. Are those distractions a part of your self-sabotage? And in a sense, we can be our friend and we can be our enemy, friend and foe, right? We can call it that yin and yang, the good and the bad of us. Who are we? Sometimes people are going to think, well, I did so much yesterday or I did so much last month. I can take it easy. Well, let me ask you a question. How bad do you want it? Because some people, they have this good idea. They say, I'm going to do this, but they don't take the action or they don't say committed to the cause. They are only in it for a moment. But what would happen if we stay committed for the long term, for the whole haul of what we're trying to do? We would succeed. We can look at people like Sanders, like the KFC guy, Colonel Sanders. He failed, 1,009 times before people said, hey, let's start KFC. Now there's KFCs everywhere. We can look at people who have tried to do something, even David Goggins, for example, right? He failed, 2 or 3 times to get into the Navy SEALs, and then he finally got in. On the last attempt, he says, there's going to be no more, they said. So he didn't have a choice. Then the other time, when he was trying to do the pull-up record, he failed, right? Should he have given up and said, well, I can't do this. I failed. It's too hard. That inner voice inside of us, it could be a friend or it could be a foe. And today we're going to be looking at how the nuances of our mind can be molded into helping us become the person that we need and we want to be. Because sometimes we are on the right side of who we should be, and oftentimes we fall short. So let's see how we can rise to the occasion more so than not. Let's take a look at my most recent blog. All right, everyone, if you're new to the podcast, new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to share the video and or audio to help build a community that are trying to get to a better and stronger mindset and to elevate in all aspects of their life. Today, we have a great conversation. Some of the books that I was listening to the past week that I was telling you about, number 1 was The 4 Ways to Stop Self-Sabotage by Judy Ho, and the next one is The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. And when we take a look at those books, for example, they talk about values, they talk about things that you can do to enhance yourself, to find your weaknesses, and then to correct them. But you do have to be aware of them. And sometimes when we are being critical to ourselves, we might not want to be aware of our weaknesses because we want to look at the good. But then maybe you're a person that just focuses on the negative because, again, our mind is naturally focused to the negative. For example, let's say you and I are in a session and we're talking about all the things that you're doing good. But then we see some holes in your process. And I say, that's a hole, that's a hole, that's a hole. Are you going to only focus on the holes, or are you going to say, well, I'm doing good, right? It just depends on your mindset, right? Which is better? Well, we do have to leverage both, because if we are going to stay in the negative and ruminate on it, and ruminate on that negative, it is not good. However, if we focus on the positive, saying we're doing this good, great. Now, let's start to work one by one so we can get to the level of the positive things that are, that I'm doing well, or get close to it, right? From there, we can see progress because now we're becoming stronger in the things that we were once weak. That is growth. But not all the time we are going to say, hey, I'm going to do this and make my life a bunch better because I'm focusing on the negatives. Most people who focus on negatives are like, oh man, I'm not good at this, or this person said this about me, and they stay there. But then when they stay there, they don't have action to get out of there. It's an interesting thing the mind does because it understands that there's an obstacle right there. There's a wall. Sometimes we're a friend and sometimes we're a foe. If we can imagine that a friend, right? A friend, typically you would think of someone who's supportive, someone who's uplifting, someone who's going to see your successes. They're going to see the good in you. They're going to support you. They're going to smile with you. They're going to celebrate with you. But what about your enemies? What do they want from you? They want to see your downfall. They want to see you lose. They want to see you suffer. They want to get ahead of you so they can look behind at you or look down upon you and laugh perhaps or boast perhaps, whatever it be, right? We have different scenarios in our life. And it doesn't matter if it's you that does it or if other people do it. We need to be able to differentiate between the two. And this article is talking about all the nuances of a friend and a foe, not only how you internalize things, but how other people internalize things toward you. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is that there's going to be a way that we can navigate through this process. Number one, self-reflection. Two, seek feedback. Three, understanding. That's going to be, looking at different views of different things. So you're not just, I'm stuck in my mind. I'm only thinking one track. I'm a silo. No, we are thinking more. Then four, setting boundaries. And then five, a growth mindset. Now, five is easy, right? The growth mindset, positive. We're trying to enhance ourselves in whatever direction. But we do have to understand that there is a lot to be said about friend and foe, especially in our world today. So when we start to look at the whole idea of friend and foe, I think about an interview with Elon Musk, and you don't have to like the guy, right? You don't have to like Elon. You don't have to like his social media platform. You don't have to drive his cars or watch his space shuttle launches. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do with Elon, right? But I do want to use him as the example. When he was having an interview, I believe it was with Don Lemon, basically he told Don, he's like, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and like we're going to talk about whatever. And then like Don was asking all these questions, like, don't you care about what people think about you? And Elon was like, why would I care about what other people think about me, especially the media? And he goes on to say that the media is a bad reflection of someone's character. For example, like Andrew Tate, right? I know you might not like him, you might know about him, but he's a man who has been labeled toxic or bad, right? And people don't even know why he's labeled toxic or bad. He is the villain. But the reality is he's not the villain. The pushing for something of telling someone like, hey, this person is bad, that's actually going to be a fixed mindset that we don't necessarily need. Now, of course, we can look at traits and we can say that this trait is not good for what I'm trying to incorporate into my life. Friend and foe, right? We can have differences. We're not like out to love everybody and say, I'm going to love you. You're going to love me. Everyone's going to be happy. We're going to be a team player. Everyone's going to work together, but that's just not reality. People don't do that. People are going to be focused on what they are trying to do in their life, and they're going to surround themselves with people who have similar mindsets, who have similar goals. If you like hanging around people who go shopping and stuff like that, great. You're going to hang around those people. But if you don't like shopping and the only thing you do, and the only thing your friends do is like go shopping, you're probably going to say, I don't want to go out with them anymore. Or maybe going to the movies. You don't like going to the movies or going out to dinner all the time. I don't, like those are fun things, but it could be something different. Maybe going to the beach or skate park, or amusement park. It could be daunting for some people because there's so many people there and they're like, oh, there's too many people. I'm nervous or whatever, right? You have to figure out your place to be. What I can say is when we're looking at the aspect of looking at a person, it's almost like the hero's journey. When we initially want to be a hero, most people want to be a hero, right? They say, I want to be a hero. I want to save the day. I want to be the knight in shining armor. I want to be the savior. I want to be a person that makes a difference. But the reality is, not everyone can be heroes. Why? Because not everyone is enslaved to their destiny. Some people defy destiny. Some people say, I don't want this. I'm going to do something else. Or they realize that the path that is of the hero is not truly what they want. So if you're not on the path of a hero, are you on the path of a villain? And I like to do a running pun, especially with my dad, because he's like, you shouldn't say that. And I'm like, I'm going to say it anyway. You are the villain, right? You are the person that wants greatness in your life and you don't care how you do it. Versus if you're a hero, you are more cognizant of your behavior and your actions. And you make sure not to hurt people because you don't want to, you don't want to hurt anybody. And I just talked about this on a Wednesday episode. We have to rise into our greatness. We could, we just can't tiptoe and expect greatness. We need to understand what is for us. I say the people who maybe are our closest friends can be some of our greatest obstacles. I'm talking about friends out, like, besides yourself. So if you have a best friend, if they're not helping you, and I'm not talking about your friend has to help you. I mean, a friend should be there to support you, something small, right? It doesn't even have to be big. For example, let's say you start a new business online and you have a best friend, like literally you hang out all the time with your best friend. And then your best friend, sees your stuff and, on social media. Maybe you don't get a like. And I'm not saying that you need likes and stuff, but, from your best friend, like they have to do it. But it's the idea, right? Maybe even a text message saying, hey, I saw this new video. I love it. Keep that up. Like, I think it's going to get a lot of views, right? The smallest things, it doesn't cost any money. You don't have to pay anything. Support, right? A friend, right? You would think a best friend would be able to support you. But then sometimes these same friends are going to do things that will hinder your progress and your growth. Maybe your best friend loves going out to eat. Remember those examples I talked about, going to the beach, going out to eat, traveling, doing all these things, shopping, and it takes away from your focus. So is this truly a friend? And I mean, like, they might be doing all those things that I said, liking your stuff, saying this is great, but are they doing things that counterbalance the good things that they're doing? Because at the end of the day, if you keep running in a circle, you didn't really go anywhere. Yes, you might have got some more steps in. Maybe you're losing a little bit of weight. Maybe that was the goal. But the reality is you didn't make progress toward reaching some place besides a goal of like getting more steps in. Because we're talking about reaching success. How can we get to the success that we're trying to get to? And sometimes we are the people who self-sabotage ourselves, and sometimes there are other people who self-sabotage ourselves. Friends do it more than us sometimes. So that's why your circle is so important. I'm sure you probably heard, and I talked about this on the podcast all the time. I say, you are going to be the proponent of the 9 to 10 people that you keep around yourself on a consistent basis. And if you don't keep people around you, you are the person that has to be able to elevate yourself so you can be a person that says, I'm a go-getter. I'm taking action. I'm being deliberate. I'm not procrastinating. I know what my weaknesses are. I'm trying to build them into strengths. You are being proactive. But then just because you know all these things, it doesn't mean you're going to do it. I have many clients that are great people. I'm talking about like, cream of the crop, top 1%. But they have things that they self-sabotage on. And it's not their own doing. It's just a natural tendency because it can come from many different things. Oftentimes it comes from a trauma in your life. Sometimes it happens all the way in childhood. Many people who go to therapy, one of the things therapists do instinctually and by training is they try to figure out what happened when you were a child. They try to get to the root. But the issue with therapy and people who have a good, strong mindset is that talking about your feelings and understanding your feelings are a good step, but is not the only step. We need some action. So that's why I know many people who get a therapist, they also get a life coach because they realize, like, hey, I need this for healing and understanding and some emotional intelligence so I can navigate everything. But then I need to get up my butt and I need to take action. And if I can't do that, who's going to do it for me? No one. We have to be the people. We have to be the proponent that wants success as much as our friends, our good friends, hopefully, our parents, maybe. But it's not guaranteed. What do you want? Then we get into the main talking points of today, right? There's an idea that you can give yourself this good, strong mindset, this growth mindset, these wonderful thoughts, these dreams, these ideals, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to come your way. You're going to say, well, I'm doing all these things. I wrote down all of these dynamics and I'm making sure that I'm able to internalize what's coming my way. I'm able to reflect on the inside and out. I'm seeking feedback from others so I can learn about my strengths and my weaknesses. But then at some point, guess what? I'm not truly doing what I need to do because I'm not setting the boundaries for myself and for others. Because you can set a boundary for yourself and it could be very simple. It's a very simple boundary. For example, a boundary you can set for yourself is that you're not going to go on your phone from the hours of 1 and 2 p.m. because you know that that's prime time for you to get some work done. That could be a boundary. A boundary can be that if you are in your office, you don't want to be disturbed from the hours of 10 to 12, whatever it be, right? It's a boundary. Don't let people cross your boundaries. But how often do we allow ourselves and others, our friends and our foes, right, to cross that boundary? Ourself, for example, the way we might cross that boundary is we say that we're supposed to be doing something, but we do the opposite. For a friend, they kind of impede into our space when they understand that we're supposed to be doing something. For example, a boundary would be like on Saturday, I know I need to get good sleep because I have to go be with a client first thing Sunday in the morning. If my friends and my family and they're saying, hey, let's go out Saturday night and let's go drinking and stuff, of course I can say no, right? Because I understand that there's a boundary there. But what if I didn't? What if I didn't put any attention to this? I said, well, I got to go out with my friends, right? I got to be social. I have to, be accepted in my peer group. And sometimes that happens. So we don't set boundaries. We don't have expectations for ourselves. And then we wonder why we fall short. And then we can look at the world, why 1 to 2% are succeeding wildly and everyone else is kind of mediocre. We need accountability in our life. And if you don't know how to be accountable, I encourage you to check out this blog. Because in this blog, Friend and Foe, you and them, you're going to learn all about your belief system. You're going to learn so many different things on how not only you treat yourself, but how people treat you, and you can become cognizant of what is happening. We're trying to make an impact in your life. You should be trying to get rid of these ideas that are stopping you from being truly great. That foe aspect in your life, that self-criticism, that doubt, losing focus, focusing on your failures, not your successes only. The reality that you're trying to shape is going to be influenced by your confidence, by your decision making, your overall well-being. Like, we need you to be the full package, or if not there, damn near close. One of the books, the team player book that I was telling you about with Paul, They talked about just 3 aspects that they look for: values, values. When I help people with relationships and marriage coaching, we look at 10 values. It's a lot more intricate than, your workspace type of values, because you can have 3 critical values in your workspace, and then, you have a whole team of people. Typically, work is not just you and them. It's like a collaborative effort. It's a we type of thing, right? It's a corporation. So just touching base back on those 3 values that, a corporation will have versus a relationship, there is a different dynamic. And you, as a corporation, if you are an organization, if you are a business owner and you're trying to enhance your teamwork and you're trying to enhance your culture at your job or your workplace, you need to look at least your 3 top values. And you need to make sure that everyone has those 3 values, at minimum 2. 1 is definitely no. 2, they can work on the 3rd one. Everyone can work on these values. I want you to understand. Just because someone is egotistic, it doesn't mean that they can't be humble with practice. You asked me when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Guess what? I had an ego. It was there. But I worked to get rid of my ego when I was, 20, around there, 2021. I started to work. It wasn't totally gone. It took years to change. It takes time to change. So you do have to figure out what type of foundation you're trying to get. And this article right here is a wonderful read, friend or foe. The link is in the description box below. I encourage people to check it out. One of the things that we want to do here at Reverend Concepts is we want to instill as much knowledge and as much wisdom as we can to help you push through the nuances of the new age world, the modern world, right? We have so many more distractions today. We are not focused on the things that are going to be beneficial for us because there's so many other things that are more enticing. For example, TV can be enticing. Fast food can be enticing. It tastes good. Sweets can be enticing, like they're delicious. But are they good for you? I want you to ask yourself this question. Are you good for you? Are the people that you hold or keep around you good for you? And if not, are you willing to make some adjustments? And if you are, make them. If you need some help, head over to reverendconcepts.com, check us out, get a consultation. They're free. And that right there is going to give you the guidance you need to start to make the right path. One of the things that happened the other day, someone had called for, a consultation. And they had a very simple thing to fix. It was like they needed some help understanding what they wanted to do. And sometimes it could be very difficult. But in this person's situation, it was actually just a couple of questions and then they were on their way. We did it in 30 minutes and it was just like a piece of cake. That can be your life. That can be your situation. Sometimes the best things in life are right there for you to have and to take and to utilize. But if you are too afraid to open up or to commit to yourself, I understand. We don't want to put ourselves out there all the time, but we do have to give us a firmer directive if we're trying to make some changes in our life. Don't let yourself be the obstacle anymore. Don't let other people be obstacles in your life if you know they're not good for you. Learn to identify and differentiate between who's good and who's bad in your life. Check out this article. You're going to find so many tools and tips that are going to be helping you get to the lifestyle that you're trying to get, to give yourself the mindset of the friend that you need, and to not allow that lesser version of yourself take a hold and keep you there. We don't need you there. We need you someplace better.